Hello, beautiful human. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be busting some myths. So busting 5 myths around being unapologetically confident. I'm really excited to share this with you. I think some of these are going to really surprise you, open your mind, and teach you something new, which is obviously a good thing if you're wanting to be more unapologetically confident and feeling more ease around that process and journey. Myth number 1, some people just aren't born confident. Total myth. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from people who later go on to develop amazing confidence and trust in themselves and feel damn unapologetic. Confidence is more of a skill rather than a personality trait. So it's something that we can build, it's something we can cultivate, and we can continuously be growing with intention and action. If you look at some of the most confident people in the world, or if you know someone who is genuinely really self-assured and confident, they have usually been on a path of facing their fears, facing the things that challenge them, becoming more capable in that process to defy what their mind thinks is possible. And so they are using courage to face their fear to ultimately build that confidence. So it's not necessarily something that you have to be born with, or that some people are just lucky to be born with. Sometimes we feel more confident in some areas innately and naturally, and other areas not so much. But the good news is you don't have to be born confident in any area. You can build it. So myth busted. Myth number 2, you have to be an extrovert to be confident. Wrong. Total myth. You can be confident or not so confident regardless of whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or maybe a mix of the two, an ambivert. These traits are actually more like personality traits rather than confidence, like I already shared, which is something that you build and it's more of a skill. I think a lot of people assume or associate being extroverted with being confident. I think it's a bit of a social myth and a social expectation that isn't fully accurate. So when we think of extroverts, or maybe the fire signs in astrology, you usually think of someone who's like the life of the party or the center of the spotlight. And yes, that's true for a lot of extroverts, but some of those people may not actually feel very confident inside, even though externally their personality suggests that they're really loud, or they're really wild, or they don't mind being the center of attention. Those can be expressions of confidence, but they're not necessarily signs of feeling innately, deeply confident in yourself or sure of yourself. For some people, it can actually be more of like a cover. So they actually feel really low confidence inside, and they compensate or overcompensate by being really large and larger than life and extra and almost like putting on a front. I really resonate with that because that used to be my jam. Back when I was really mentally struggling, I would always be quite confident looking on the outside, so extroverted, being the center of attention. On the inside, I felt really, really low confidence, a lot of self-doubt, had no idea who the fuck I was, wasn't sure of myself. The outside did not match the inside. So I think it's important to bust this myth, especially if you're an introvert, because some people are really naturally introverted and they might confuse confidence with thinking that they need to change their personality. So thinking I need to be more like this extroverted person to be more confident. And that's not true at all. Confidence is about being proud and grounded and sure in who you are. And so if who you are is more of an introverted soul, a sensitive soul, that's totally perfect. And you can absolutely be confident in that natural expression of your personality. You don't have to change your personality or be more of this. Sometimes the most confident person in the room is the quietest person in the room. So you do you and build that confidence from within rather than changing it on the outside. Myth number 3 that we're gonna bust. Confident people are just always confident, always fearless, and they never doubt themselves. people get sucked into believing in the self-help world, or when they're on a personal development journey, wanting to arrive at this final destination. So believing I'm not confident or I don't trust myself until I arrive at this destination or this place where I never doubt myself again and I'm totally fearless. And therefore, if you're feeling fear, there's something wrong or you're not there yet. This is all false. Becoming more and more confident can definitely give you more of a sense of, I've got this. Absolutely. And the more that you build your confidence through intention, through inner work, through shadow work, and of course through action, the more and more confidence you're going to feel and the more capable you're going to feel in the face of challenges, and maybe in some cases way less afraid or not afraid at all. Fear is a very instinctual biological thing that we have as humans. It has many good traits. If you didn't feel any fear at all, you would get in a lot of danger, probably. Wanting to be completely fearless in order to say that you're confident is just not going to be helpful or supportive to you at all. Confident people still have self-doubt, but self-doubt for confident people becomes an opportunity to build more confidence. If you have a growth mindset, you are going to be facing situations and bravely taking action and getting out of your comfort zone pretty regularly. And that means that there is going to be some discomfort and you're not always going to be 100% sure of yourself or 100% I've got this. Nothing wrong with that. That's literally the whole point. That is how we build confidence, through facing new terrain, moving through it, going, oh my God, I did it. And now I feel more confident about doing it again. Rinse and repeat. And the more that you do that, then you become more and more savvy at whatever it is that you're doing and who you're being through that. So don't let the idea that you need to be fearless or you need to never doubt yourself again get in the way of you seeing the confidence that you already have and continuing to build it. Myth number 4. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to tell you this one. The myth is confident people are arrogant. Give me a minute. I got so much to say to you. It can be really easy to conflate the two because sometimes there is like a superficial overlap of some of these traits, but I really want to break down for you why confidence and arrogance are two totally separate things, and in many cases they're the absolute opposite of each other. Embodying confidence and believing in yourself are not signs of arrogance. I think they're signs of self-love. They're signs of self-awareness. They're signs that you've been developing and working on yourself, and you're daring to go out there and live a life that feels really amazing and you're really proud to be living. Confident people are also usually open to other people's ideas and feedback, even if they disagree with that feedback, because they're secure in themselves. They know themselves. They know themselves to be capable. They know themselves to be worthy and lovable. They're open to that feedback because that feedback, especially feedback they don't agree with, is not going to shake the core of who they are. It's not going to completely suck their confidence out of them because they've built that confidence from the inside out rather than from the outside in. Arrogance, on the other hand, is usually really volatile or very defensive of feedback and criticism. Even though it might look very grandiose or extroverted or very braggy on the outside and seem really confident, it's usually rooted in a really deep, often unconscious insecurity. And so it makes sense that if an arrogant person was to receive feedback from other people, especially feedback that wasn't in agreement with what they were thinking of themselves, then that's going to really rock the boat, right? It's not going to go down well. Confident people welcome that feedback. They don't let everybody else's feedback rule their life, but they definitely are open to hearing it because confident people usually have that growth mindset that we spoke about. And so when you have a growth mindset, generally you want to hear different perspectives. You want to learn different things. You want to see different things from all different angles so that you can grow in the most holistic and the most expansive way possible. So feedback can be a really good thing for confident people. But for arrogant people, they usually have this overinflated sense of self that's not rooted in reality. And so that feedback can be really, really ugh. Confident people want to have power with other people. They celebrate power and confidence in other people, whereas arrogant people require a hierarchy because they need that sense of superiority. If you think about someone who's genuinely at peace with themselves, confident in who they are, usually they want other people to feel confident and happy and sure of themselves too. They want to raise people up. Whereas arrogant people usually want to push people down so that they can be above. A couple more comparisons to really drive the point home. Confidence is actually a byproduct of deep self-awareness, whereas arrogance is a byproduct of a lack of self-awareness. Confidence is acknowledging your strengths, but also acknowledging your weaknesses and playing the cards you've got and being willing to grow and get better, whilst also knowing that you're not perfect and that's okay. Whereas arrogant people usually hate acknowledging their weaknesses. They want to pretend they don't exist. And if someone points them out, well, watch out. To give it a really short sentence, confidence is being self-assured and arrogance is being self-consumed. And the fifth and final myth that we're going to bust is that unapologetic confidence makes you rude. Ooh! To be unapologetically confident doesn't mean to be careless. It also doesn't mean that you're being super careful and walking around on eggshells and letting everybody else's opinions determine how you feel about yourself, or letting other people's judgments of you rule your life and make you dilute yourself or play small. What it is being strong-willed. It's being sure of who you are. It's being grounded in your values and the things that you believe in and proud of that without needing to overtly have to justify yourself to everyone and their mother. I would actually argue that the most deeply confident people tend to be the most responsible and willing to be accountable if they've hurt someone's feelings or if they've had a negative impact on someone, because generally people who have got to that stage where they're so sure of who they are and the values that they embody, they're usually really self-aware. And so when you're self-aware, you also have that awareness of how you impact others, but you just don't place your needs at the bottom of the pile anymore. Unapologetically confident people are willing to take that accountability when it's theirs to be responsible for, because they've also learned to not blame other people. They've learned to take radical self-responsibility. And so they are the kind of people who are generally always asking, how can I do better? Or how could I have done this in a more tasteful way? Or how can I acknowledge the impact that I've had on someone whilst also being grounded in my truth and holding the duality of that? Sometimes being true to yourself is going to be upsetting for other people, and we don't have to just get in that either or mindset of like, I'ma just do me and screw you guys. We can hold the duality of I'm going to do what's right for me, and I can acknowledge that some people might not be okay with that, or they might be upset about it, and I can be accountable to that whilst not letting it completely sway what's true for me. People who are unapologetically confident sometimes get this bad rap of being rude or not caring about people because they don't just apologize or people please to anyone like a lot of people in our society have been taught to do. So they're honest and they do apologize when they're sorry, but they're not necessarily just going to apologize to keep the peace or because someone else is projecting something onto them and they're not being responsible for that reaction. So sometimes when you're unapologetically confident, you are direct in your communication. You can still be loving, but honest, direct communication is not like a mainstream thing in a lot of cultures. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. There's a lot of beating around the bush. So when you start showing up sure of who you are, speaking honestly and directly and naming distortions, naming things that are not okay, speaking your authentic expression, that can be disturbing for some people, especially if people have been conditioned their whole life to be really apologetic about who they are, to not go after what they want, to not get to know themselves. So you being in that expression might be confronting for people, and that's okay. But unapologetically confident people know that they're not fully responsible for how everybody else interprets them, how everybody else feels about them, and certainly not for making other people comfortable if that means dimming or diluting yourself down. I think this myth of rudeness can also be fueled or encouraged by the fact that when you're unapologetically confident, you have a growth mindset, you're self-aware, you're knowing your boundaries and your values, you're getting intimate with your own truth and what's right for you. And so what these people generally find is that they start to really own their yes and own their no. Looking at all the places where they might have said yes when they really meant no. Things like people pleasing can obviously lead you to overgiving. And so sometimes if you're out there and you're saying no to people who are used to you saying yes all the time, or you're saying no and that person really expects you to say yes and then they're angry at you about it, I think sometimes that's where that rudeness piece can come from, because people are not used to people being so true to themselves or maybe communicating that no so honestly. And the same thing with boundaries. So if you start setting boundaries, or you're setting boundaries with someone who really doesn't know how to honor their own boundaries, your boundaries might be quite shocking to that person. They might think like, whoa, that's really abrupt, or that's really rude, because they haven't yet learned how to embody their own boundaries or to honor them, but it doesn't mean that you're being rude. I think authenticity and being true and being honest and honoring your needs is a really important part of us creating a world where people are more free to be themselves, more honest, deep intimacy with each other. Because if we're not being honest, how are we ever going to have deep, meaningful, honest, caring relationships? So these are the 5 myths that I wanted to bust today. I could have created so many others and shared them in this video, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Let me know in the comments if you liked it. Did you learn something new? Give this video a like, subscribe if you're down to keep hanging out. And if you want me to do another myth busting video on a different topic, let me know that as well in the comments, and I'll think about creating a video for you on that. I hope this was inspiring, motivating, nourishing for your soul, and I will see you in one of my other videos or around the blog. Sending you so much love. See you later.